We find an example of goal setting and vision in the book of Nehemiah. Goals are sometimes set because we see a need. When you find yourself thinking something should be done or someone should do something about it, it may be God giving you insight into a need. That's where Nehemiah found himself. The temple had been completed some 70 years earlier, yet the city walls remained in shambles. Your goal needs to be more than talk. It takes courage to step out and take action. Courage overcomes fear. Fear will reduce your goal to a fantasy, and a fantasy only exists in your mind. There's no success without the risk of failure, no reward without hard work, no opportunity without criticism. Now, your goal may not be to rebuild a city wall, yet the task may be just as daunting. We see 5 parts to reaching the goal. The first is the problem or the goal itself. In chapter 1, verse 3 of Nehemiah, Nehemiah hears about the wall and its condition. The second part is seen in verse 4 through 10, that of prayer. We see that this prayer was not a single prayer. It went on for 4 months. Even though Nehemiah had set his goal, he could not just pick up and leave. He needed the king's permission to leave. Nehemiah was the king's cupbearer and lived in royal comfort. Now, Nehemiah not only had a do list, he had a not to do list. Good things had to be put on hold for the best. Good things need to be done, yet you must ask the question, what is the best? What's more important? You need to limit your time and focus on your goal. Now, Nehemiah had done his preparation. In chapters 2, 5 through 8, when asked how long it would take, he had a time frame for completing the task. If you remember in part 1 of time management, we talked about having a specific goal and completing the task in a timely manner. Don't leave it open-ended or you'll never finish. We see in verse 6 through 8 that he had calculated the cost and obtained the resources. Before God sends you to do something, he will supply all the needs. This is what God did for Nehemiah. Reaching the goal will require persistence. You will encounter roadblocks along the way. We see in chapter 2, verse 10, that the local government was against the goal. It didn't stop there. The resistance continued all the way through chapter 6, verse 15. The performance that reaches the goal is found in chapter 6, verse 15. The rebuilding of the wall had been put off for over 70 years. Nehemiah was able to rebuild the wall in 52 days. The reason the wall was built in 52 days is because others caught the vision of completing the wall. In order to reach your goal, you may need others to come alongside. In a later presentation on team building, we will revisit Nehemiah to see how he was able to overcome the roadblocks that he encountered from both the outside and the inside. There is no success without the risk of failure, no reward without hard work, no opportunity without criticism. Success comes through prayer and trusting God to guide you. By studying Nehemiah, we will gain insights into overcoming roadblocks and how to achieve our goal. Proverbs 3:21 tells us to have two goals: knowing and doing right, and common sense. Proverbs 3:23 goes on to say, they keep you safe from defeat and disaster, and from stumbling off the trail. How do you achieve these two goals? Proverbs 1, verses 7 through 9 says, how does a man become wise? The first step is to trust and reverence the Lord. Proverbs 2:1 tells us, every young man who listens to me and obeys my instructions will be given wisdom and common sense. Like Paul in Philippians 3:13 and 14, we are still not all that we should be. We should bring all of our energies to bear on one thing: forgetting the past and looking forward to what lies ahead. Setting our highest goal to finish the race and receive the prize for which God is calling us to heaven because of what Jesus Christ did for us.